Let's scroll on up to, it's lesson 323. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. Sunday, April 10th. Really funny, because the very first line says, you cannot hear me because there is fear in your mind. So apparently what had already been happening this particular morning is I had been trying to hear the Holy Spirit and couldn't. So I was probably experiencing some frustration that lasted for a certain amount of time. Who knows? It could have been half an hour, 2 hours. And finally, at one point, I had settled down enough. In fact, I don't remember the specific day, but there's a good chance I was actually doing something else, like taking a shower or doing dishes. And when I relaxed, this message probably began to come. And so that's why it starts off with, you cannot hear me. What it would be referring to is the hour or the 2 hours before when I was feeling that frustration. So, you cannot hear me because there is fear in your mind. You want to release it, and you have released some of it, but you are still denying that much of it is there. Don't be afraid to acknowledge that the fear is there. You are afraid to acknowledge it because you think it is real, and you think that if real fear exists within you, you must be bad. You think that if you are bad, you are not deserving of God's love. This is what you fear. Now, this is a really important message. And in fact, some of what I'm still experiencing today. So this is a message, and I mean like today, what is today? Tuesday? Tuesday, May 15th, 2007. I've been looking at fears in my mind today, and pretty strong fears, actually, really strong fears. And recognizing not to fear the fear, just look at the fear and let it go. And the form that seems to be bringing up this fear, I had mentioned in a post not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, that what I noticed is there was still a fear in my mind about physical attack. And I had mentioned to you all that, a couple different things had happened in my life recently where I had seen that. One was a couple acquaintances of mine were badly beaten up. Another was, of course, an image of the Virginia Tech shooter with a hammer. When I saw the image of him with the hammer, I felt a reaction inside of me. And I recognized that there really is still a lot of fear in me about, what I'll call physical violence. That fear has not yet been released. I assume I gave willingness to release that fear because it is still coming up. And in fact, there's a situation that arose where a man called me on the phone, and he wants to meet with me. This is a person who became aware of me because he saw an article that was in John Mundy's Miracle magazine, which I felt very strongly guided. The article is called The Master Teacher and the Little Girl. And it came very quickly while I was eating cereal one morning, and I immediately felt to send it to John Mundy. And he immediately replied and said he would publish it. So that the whole thing occurred within about 20 minutes from when the article started coming to my mind until he agreed to have published it. It was pretty quick, so it felt pretty strongly guided. And this person saw that article, and this person lives in North Carolina, so this person went to the police station in New London and asked for my address or phone number. And they called me and asked if they could have permission to give him my address or phone number. And I gave them permission to give me my phone number. And he called me, and he describes himself as a mystic, and he lives in the woods of North Carolina without electricity, without running water, very rustic type environment, lives off the land. He had borrowed a cell phone from someone to call me, and he couldn't talk long because they wanted the phone back. But he was very interested in the article, and he wanted to talk some more. And so he asked me to meet him in a park, which is about an hour away from here, and I'm actually meeting him tomorrow. And what I notice in my mind today is lots of fear coming up about meeting this man in this park, in the country. And I'm spending all day, at first when I saw the fears, I saw the thought to be literally be afraid of the fear, just like this is saying. And I had to literally say, no, I see this fear. It's almost like talking to myself. I see this fear. I see that I am seriously afraid of physical attack. I see that, and I'm not going to deny that fear is in me. But I also know my willingness to let go of this fear. I know that I do not want to live with this fear. I know that. I also know that my true desire is what leads me in my life. I know that my true desire is stronger in my mind than any other desire now. And I know that everything that is coming up now is coming up so that I can be released, so that I can be freed, and so that I can serve the Holy Spirit fully. And, that's exactly what this is saying. So it's really helpful to me to be going over this message again. It's saying, don't be afraid to acknowledge that the fear is there, because we do that. We're afraid to acknowledge, damn it, I'm afraid of this. We have to admit that. We have to let it up. I am afraid of this. Don't be afraid to acknowledge that the fear is there. You are afraid to acknowledge it because you think it is real, and you think that if real fear exists within you, you must be bad. You think that if you are bad, you are not deserving of God's love, which really means we fear that the bad is going to happen to us. We fear the fear is real, and we fear that that which we fear is going to happen to us because we are not deserving of God's love. All of this has to be let go. It absolutely has to be let go. The next paragraph. Believing the fear keeps it real for you. The only way to see that it isn't true is to acknowledge the fear in faith and let it go. Hand it to me along with your willingness to see only truth. It may seem that you have to do this over and over again. That's only because you are learning to turn over fear, and all learning involves practice. So it doesn't matter at all that the fear comes up in me and that I see it, I acknowledge it, I turn it over, I start feeling peaceful, and then 20 minutes later it comes back in my mind and I'm feeling it again. That's not failure, that's just the process. And all I have to do is continue to be consistent. All I have to do is remember what I really want. All I have to do is remember my true desire. All I have to do is let that lead above anything else. And what I really want is to be completely free of any false thoughts. I don't want anything in my mind that is not truth, which means I need to walk right through this fear, trust in the Holy Spirit, and let it go. Believing the fear keeps it real for you. The only way to see that it isn't true is to acknowledge the fear in faith and let it go. Hand it to me along with your willingness to see only truth. It may seem that you have to do this over and over again. That's only because you are learning to turn over fear, and all learning involves practice. Feel my love for you and know that I am here with you, loving you all the time. My patience may seem infinite, but it is no less than your beauty. And I love it when the Holy Spirit gives compliments like that, because at this time I was probably thinking that I was this lowly person who wasn't getting this stuff, and this Holy Spirit keeps coming back so patiently and teaching me the same thing over and over again. And the Holy Spirit is reminding me, but it's you that's beautiful. You are the one I'm looking at and in awe of. The Holy Spirit would say things to me like that all the time, really lifting me up from that lowly way that I looked at myself. Take my hand, I will lead you, and together we will release the fear you are afraid to face. And of course, at the time of this writing, we were literally still talking about the leaving the job, the moving, going to work for the Foundation for the Awakening Mind, that whole thing. That is what I was afraid to face. And as I pointed out to you before, what I did was, even though I was afraid, and I was afraid for months, we're not talking one dark night of the soul, we're talking many, and I would let it go and then it would come back. What I did was I kept walking anyway. I kept putting one foot in front of the other, trusting the Holy Spirit and walking anyway. I walked right through it. And just like I did that then, this is what I am doing now with this current fear that is coming up. Because I fully realize at a level that is deeper than the fear, it is coming up so I can be free of it. And if I don't listen to it, if I just keep putting one foot in front of the other and letting the trust be stronger than the fear, this is how you overcome or transcend fear. I've done it before with other things, and I'm going to do it now with this. So, and one reason I want to say that is because I don't know how you all are feeling about what I just revealed. Because I know that the fear that I'm experiencing right now is a common fear. And there may be someone out there right now that's listening that's feeling afraid for me. Just in case you are, I'm going to ask you instead to join with me in trust. I'm going to ask with you, join with me, use me, live vicariously through me, and allow your fears to come up and release your fears, and join me in trust, because this is exactly how we transcend fear. And transcending fear is what this path is all about. If we run from everything that scares us, we'll never learn there's nothing to fear. And Holy Spirit guides us. Holy Spirit guides us if we listen to Holy Spirit. So we don't have to worry that we're making any foolish steps, as long as we're paying attention, being alert, letting go of the fear. Remember, we are His charge. He promises to take care of us. He absolutely promises to take care of us. But we've got to walk through this fear. We can't hide every time we feel it, or we're never going to get anywhere. So take my hand. I will lead you, and together we will release the fear you are afraid to face. It is nothing. Trust me. Give me your love as I have given you mine. Together, our love is one, and we will face the fear as one. And I notice Dove says, coming up now, Be Not Afraid with Kevin Rice, Unity Minister, the Palm Beaches, Florida. So if Jasmine will allow me, Dove, I'll stay tuned in and listen to that. But whether I stay tuned in or not, know that, of course, you know what I'm up to. You know that what I'm doing is choosing the Holy Spirit, because that is what I do. And so I will be back on Thursday at 1 o'clock, and what we will do is continue with NTI. I don't remember exactly where we left off, but I remember that we are somewhere in the book of Acts.